Hi everyone, my name is Brooke Davidson and I'm an undergrad student in Dr. Power's lab. My study looks at the effects of isometric training on rate of torque development and power in a restricted and in an unrestricted range of motion. So, if some of you are clumsy like myself, I'm sure that you've experienced a tripping motion where your foot gets caught behind you and the rest of your body continues to move forward. Most of the time, you're able to quickly accelerate your foot in order to catch yourself, while other times, you may not be quick enough to catch your fall. This kind of explosive strength can be evaluated in terms of rate of torque development, which measures the ability to rapidly develop muscular torque. During normal, non-explosive contractions, we usually have at least 300 milliseconds to achieve peak torque, while during explosive contractions, we only have between 50 and 250 milliseconds. This kind of explosive muscular strength becomes critical in performing movements through restricted ranges of motion where we have less time to develop force, for example, when trying to catch yourself from a fall. This is where power becomes an important measure as the rate of torque produced throughout a range of motion. Within this same line of thinking, the rate of neuromuscular activation can serve as a neural proxy of this rapid activation. Within these parameters, explosive muscular strength may have implications on optimal performance. This leads me to the purpose of our study, which was to determine whether peak power is limited by restricting range of motion while also evaluating the effects of isometric training on rate of torque development and power in both a restricted and an unrestricted range of motion. So for our actual study, 13 healthy adults participated in an 8-week-long isometric training program of the ankle dorsiflexors. One leg was trained at a short muscle tendon unit length of 0 degrees and the other at a long length of 40 degrees of plantar flexion. Power was then measured in 4 dynamic conditions consisting of a 10-degree small range of motion and a 40-degree large range of motion at both a 10% and a 50% MVC load. To assess rate of torque development before and after training, the instantaneous slope of torque was taken at 25 milliseconds from the onset of contraction and at 50 millisecond time points ranging from between 50 and 300 milliseconds from contraction onset. Following training, there was no effect of muscle tendon unit length, but when training effects were combined, rate of torque development, MVC torque, and power across both ranges of motion and both loads increased. As you can see from the figures, pre and post rate of torque development were highest at 100 milliseconds, and pre and post power were highest in the large range of motion and at the 10% loads. Rate of neuromuscular activation, on the other hand, did not change following training. Finally, there is a strong relationship between rate of torque development at 100 milliseconds and power in each condition, with the strongest relationship being in the small range of motion. To conclude, these stronger relationships between rate of torque development and power in the small ranges of motion indicate that fast time-dependent measures are critical for optimal performance when range of motion is constrained. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.